Being great at English is not just about what you get right, but the mistakes that you don't make as well. Like this one with reporting speech. We've all been in a situation where someone's speaking too loudly near us. And when we say what we said to this person, we might report, I asked him to be quiet, or I told him to be quiet. Now, you might think, therefore, that with other verbs, we also use him or her or the object in the same way, like I suggested him to be quiet. I recommended him to be quiet. But we don't. There are different combinations that happen with reporting verbs in reporting speech. With these two examples here, advanced speakers of English would say this: I suggested that he be quiet, or I recommended that he be quiet, if you are reporting what you said. And that's one of 10 mistakes that people often make to prevent them being really advanced at English. And that's the first one in this video. And the second one is to do with group nouns. Now, what do you see here in this picture? Can you see a number of people who are protesting? In some countries in the Western world, if people don't like what's happening with their jobs, they do something called going on strike. And you may hear this: the union is on strike today. And that means the people who work for the company get together, make a union, and together they don't work for a particular day, and instead they go on the street saying what should happen instead. So with the union, we can say is, because union could be considered a group of people as one entity. But it gets complicated with other words, such as this one. The staff is on strike today. No, with this one, we cannot say the staff is on strike. We have to say the staff are on strike today. Why? Well, it's because some group nouns are always plural, such as staff, people, and police. With these verbs, we cannot imagine them as one when we choose the verb. We have to think of them as being plural, therefore we have to use are instead of is. The third mistake I want to draw your attention to is with relative clauses. Now here we can see the United Kingdom flag and you can see London. Now, how many Londons do you know? Most people would say only one, and that makes this sentence wrong. Why is it wrong? We cannot use that. Let's look at the sentence again. London, that is the capital of the UK, has 10 million people. The problem word here is that. The middle clause is what we call a non-defining relative clause, which is basically saying the capital of the UK is London. Now, there are two types of relative clauses. There are non-defining relative clauses where we're giving extra information about a noun. And here we're giving extra information about London. But in this case, we already know what the noun is. But then there are other relative clauses that are what we call defining, where we do need more information to know what the noun is. I'll give an example of that in a moment. But this is an extra information clause, and therefore we cannot use that, because the rules are that we don't use that. Instead, we need to use which. London, which is the capital of the UK, has 10 million people. And that's because we use that in a defining relative clause only, like the one at the bottom of the screen here. Now, actually, it will surprise you to know that there are more than 20 places in the world called London. And another significant one is in Canada. So if we're not sure which London we mean, then we do need an defining relative clause instead, such as this one. The London that is in Canada has 400,000 people. Here, in Canada, means we're telling you more about what we mean by London. We don't mean all Londons in the world. We only mean the one that's in Canada. So it's now giving essential information that helps us understand the noun London. And this is a defining relative clause, and with these, we can use that. Here's one that's more for the native speakers. Non-native speakers don't usually make this mistake, but people who have spoken English from birth sometimes do. Now, look at the clouds on the left. If you saw these clouds before you went for a walk, you would think, maybe I won't go for the walk. Maybe I'll take an umbrella. These men saw the clouds and they said this to each other. I should have known it would rain, or I could have known it would rain. Now that's wrong, isn't it? We can't say that. Why? Because it should be have. I should have known it would rain. I could have known it would rain. When we're using a modal to imagine the past, we use have. Now, the reason why native speakers get this wrong is because we often contract should have to should have and could have to could have. And if you're not aware of what the rule is and you only learn the language by listening, you might make the mistake of thinking should have actually means should of, and could have means could of, but it's a mistake. It's should have, could have. Now, the fifth mistake that some people make that stops them being an advanced speaker of English is with used to and am used to. What's this man doing? He's working a long time beyond his normal hours. Normally, he finishes work at 5 o'clock, but today he's working at nearly 10 o'clock. And actually, in the past, this is something he did a lot. So if he's reporting what his work life was in the past, he says, I used to work late, which is fine. Used to followed by the verb infinitive work. But is this right? I am used to work late. When we insert the word am, then we change it, the meaning. Here we mean that we have become familiar. But surprisingly, after to, something changes. Not used to work, but I am used to working late. So that little change makes a difference in what we do with the verb. With used to on its own, verb infinitive, work. With am used to, then we use the gerund form with the ing. Something similar in this example here. Someone is dreaming of a future situation where they're going to meet someone. And they imagine that they're going to say this to the person. I am looking forward to meet you. Now again, it's to plus meet, verb infinitive. Or is it? There are a few verbs or phrasal verbs in English where to is not followed by the infinitive, and this is one of them. It should actually be, I am looking forward to meeting you. And that's the combination we use with looking forward. When we have looking forward followed by to, then we use the gerund. And there are a few verbs like this in English, and you need to learn them in order to avoid mistakes to stop you being an advanced English speaker. This couple are getting married, and of course at the wedding the most important people are the bride and the groom, the man and the woman who are getting married. And perhaps they send out some invitations to people saying this. John is the man and the woman just says I. John and I will host the wedding. And this is a perfectly acceptable way of formally introducing yourself. What about this though? You will meet John and I there. Now, here's a problem. We can't say John and I in this position. We need to say you will meet John and me there. Because in the first example, John and I is the subject, so we need the subject pronoun. In the second example, John and me is correct because we need the object pronoun me instead of I. Now, you may just occasionally see people try to use John and I in the object position if they're trying to be very formal indeed. In fact, using it in the first example is also formal as well. John and I will host the wedding. But technically, the second one is wrong because we need the object pronoun. Here's a mother and daughter, and the mother asks the child, have you done your homework? And the child says this, I done it earlier. Now, the child has made a mistake here. And again, this is a mistake that often native speakers make. It should be either I did it earlier or I've done it if you don't include the time phrase. Sometimes people drop I've done it because I've become so weak and so fast that it's quicker just to say I done it earlier. But technically, to be correct, you need to say I've done it. Or if you want to use the time phrase, I did it. Now, sometimes using the preposition about can be problematic. Let's say that the mother and daughter want to discuss the homework, and they say this, we talked about it for the whole of the evening, and now my daughter understands everything. Now, here talked about is correct, and lots of verbs like this will be followed by about. But sometimes we can't, such as this one. We cannot say we discussed about it. Instead, we have to say we discussed it. So it's again with reporting verbs, it's important to know which ones can be followed by about and which ones are not. And lastly, with the same mother-daughter combination, maybe the daughter wanted to have something to eat first before she spoke about the homework. And now she comes back to her mother and says, I am ready to talk about it. Now, sometimes I hear students saying something like this, I am agree with you. Now, in the first example, I am ready, that's fine. But I am agree, no. Why? Because it's a verb. And with verbs, we have to do something different after I am or after subject with the verb to be. We use am with adjectives such as I am ready. Ready is not a verb, it's an adjective. And with participles, I am agreeing with you. I am, let me think of an example in the passive. We are expected at dinner at someone's house tonight. We are expected. So that's the passive form. We use the past participle ed. And for the continuous form, I am agreeing with you, the ing form, that means for something happening at the moment. But we don't use the verb infinitive after I am or the verb to be. So make sure you avoid those 10 mistakes and avoid lots more mistakes with your English by taking my 40-hour-long course with 600 videos on perfect English grammar. Get your English grammar perfect. Or if you've already got the course, watch the video that comes up on the screen now for more from me from my English with Rupert channel.